Hey guys, and welcome back. I am again unofficially participating in August's YouTube Artist Collective piece. And this time our theme was Zodiac. And I thought I would take you a little bit through my process of kind of start to finish of how I came up with the final piece, as well as talking a little bit about art style and how to go about developing your art style versus this idea of finding your art style. So first off, I decided for the word zodiac that I wanted to do something with the Chinese zodiac. This year, 2017, is the year of the rooster. I haven't really drawn chickens or roosters, but I've had them as pets and they can be really beautiful. And so I not only wanted to pick a rooster to make an interesting illustration with, but I also wanted to experiment a little bit with color palette, as I am an artist who is still developing my own style. I feel like I might be kind of in between styles right now. I really wanted to focus on picking a somewhat limited color palette for this piece as a bit of a challenge. So the very first thing I did when I decided I wanted to work on this piece and picked a rooster was to practice drawing a rooster. And I decided to outline it with my brush pen and make some silly quotes. The next thing I did was I used a different sketchbook with also not super great quality paper. I believe this was from Daiso. I sort of picked a color scheme that I've been playing around with other art that I've been doing. I used marker, watercolor pencil, and I think a little bit of watercolor. I had a color palette that I wanted to use even if I wasn't happy with how I used it here, and roughly an idea of how I wanted to set up the composition. I next did another sketch on the same paper. So what I did is I again played around with these colors and decided that I wanted to do kind of a soft purple outline for this piece. And I came up with a composition that I really liked of this rooster and its beautiful feathers on its tail, some foliage and leaves around the outside, because that's definitely something I like drawing and I'd like to practice more of. And I created this sort of sunbeam effect pattern in the background because when I was looking up the meaning of the rooster, a lot of what came up was about the sun, as roosters typically crow in the beginning of morning when daybreak is and the sun is rising. So even though this will likely not look like the right colors for the sun, I wanted to use that in some sort of symbolic way to create some more interest and focus the eye on the face. Once I had this line work done that I was happy with, and again played around with the colors a little bit, I scanned it in. And here is my scanned version. I printed it out just a little bit bigger so that it will fit a 10 by 8 or 8 by 10 piece of watercolor paper, since I did want to use watercolors. As I was swatching these colors out, I was using my alcohol markers, which I have been using a lot for creating color palettes and things like that, because I have just a quick color that I can get down and play around with, and I have some other pieces that I've been working on in this color scheme that I am sort of trying to build. Before I started, I was really feeling a little insecure because I didn't really love how this color scheme worked, at least how I applied the colors this way, and I was concerned about jumping in without having a good understanding of how I wanted to use this color palette. I not only played around with mixing the colors here, but I also did a couple thumbnails using, again, the markers, but coming up with an idea of how I wanted to apply the colors to my final piece. And I think I really like this one, so I think we're gonna go with that. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about developing your style as an artist. And that's because I am going through this myself. I have been drawing my whole life, and I have been a professional artist for a little over a year and a half to a year now, and I am still developing my own style. And in all honesty, I always will be. I feel like if I ever committed to one exact style, I would be bored for the rest of my life. So I like to think of style as something that develops throughout your life. That being said, style can be really great because it can create a cohesion to your portfolio if you are looking for work and want to show the type of work that you want to do and what you're capable of, and you want the pieces to look like they all go together. Having a style is a really great thing to have. It's also great for employers to know the kinds of things they can expect from you if they want to hire you on. They can look through your portfolio and see exactly what they're going to get, or at least pretty close. Now, I hear the idea of quote-unquote finding your style. I've heard that my whole life, I feel like, and I really don't like this saying. This idea that you're on a journey and you're just going to find it somewhere under a rock or something. That's just not how it works. I really like looking at this concept as developing your style. It's something that you are taking active part in and are deciding on. With this in mind, you can know that you can and should take control of developing your style and not just waiting for it to magically appear, or by mindlessly copying other artists, it will just sort of pop out of nowhere. You should be the one in control over your style and the art skills that you are developing in general. A really good place to start, and I know this is my psychology background showing a little bit, but self-awareness. Understanding yourself and how you connect with art and the materials you use and even the subject matter is going to help you really pin down either what your art style is or in what direction you should be going. This is why it's really important for you to play around with different subject matter, different art materials, and different color palettes, just like I'm doing in this video. Play around as much as you can. I know we can't all afford every kind of art supply, and I probably have way too many art materials than I really have good use for. But the more you can play around with different art materials and kind of feel out what sort of clicks with you. I've actually discussed this concept a little bit in my video about what medium you should use, and I'll link it up above here. But really, being self-aware of how you're connecting with the materials and color palettes and all of that will help it sort of click for you to know where you should be going with it. Something else that I know we all do is look at other artists and see what they're doing and look for inspiration. Now, I'm definitely not condoning copying, and I don't want you to see someone's art style who you think is popular or is doing well as an artist and try to emulate them as much as possible. That's not good for them, and it's not good for you either. You're not going to be happy with that. It's not uniquely you. What I do suggest is when you find other artists, either on Instagram or Pinterest or wherever you find them, take note of what you enjoy about their particular style. This is something I do. I have a Pinterest board. I can link my Pinterest down below. As I've become more and more self-aware and a piece sort of jumps out at me, I realize that there's something there. There's something that I connect with this artwork and with this artist, which is a big reason I'm a fan of theirs. And go back later on and really study what is it about this piece that I really enjoy. Why do I feel connection to it? A lot of it for me ends up being color palettes, at least right now in my development artistic style journey, but a lot of the time it can be the line work. I know I went in a different direction from outlining everything in black ink to wanting to do softer line work, and that has led me to do colored pencil as line work. The goal here isn't to steal someone else's style or even steal that one aspect, but really look at what you're connecting with. You can practice this in your sketchbook and practice kind of copying what they're doing just in your sketchbook to see if that feels right, and then modify it, change it to make it more and more uniquely you. Once you start doing this and getting into this practice with looking at other artists and looking at other artwork and taking bits and pieces here and there and molding them to be more fitting with you and your own unique way of looking at the world, that's when you're going to start developing your style. You might have started with looking at these other artists' pieces and felt like you're copying at first, but really what you're doing is you're testing the waters. Looking at these other artists' artwork is going to help you have a broader idea of what the possibilities are. I know for me, a lot of what I am practicing in this piece is layering different colors. So obviously I mentioned I have a sort of unique color palette. Something that I am trying to break out of a little bit is I tend to get stuck in this mindset that I need to paint things the way they are in real life, or at least the closest thing to it, and I don't want to stray from that too much. But I don't end up liking that all that much, and I really love this kind of whimsical side to my artwork, and I want my color palettes to reflect that. So that's why I decided to pick a color palette pretty much completely separate from my subject and then mold the color palette around this subject in a way that didn't make it look too awful. As I showed in the beginning, I did try out this color palette a couple times and didn't like it at first. I did those thumbnails, and when I started working on this, I wasn't sure how it was going because you don't see purple and pink roosters or chickens very often, but that was the whole point. I was trying to break out of this idea that I need to be on the more realistic side and try to bring it more into a fanciful, whimsical side of things using the color palette. An artist that has helped me with developing this piece in particular is Sophira, which is another one of the artists that you probably know from the YouTube Artist Collective, and I really love the way she is able to layer different kinds of mediums on top of each other. So using marker and watercolor and colored pencil all together to make a beautiful and cohesive piece. So that is the little thing I sort of borrowed from her to then apply to this piece. I'm not copying her. This doesn't look like a piece that she has in her shop or is directly copied in any way, but I decided that I would do my watercolors with this color palette that I wanted to do, and then use colored pencil and layer different colors to create different textures and new color palettes on the piece itself. Not sure how much that makes sense, but for me it was really playing with these different colors, and she does use a lot of really interesting color palettes. Okay guys, we're at the end of this YouTube Artist Collective piece. Again, unofficially participating. I hope you enjoyed my talk. I hope it wasn't too rambly or too confusing. I really felt like this was something I've been wanting to talk about, and I have some more thoughts that I might share in future videos, so make sure to subscribe to not miss any of those, and let me know down below, what did you think about this concept of developing your art style versus finding your art style? How has this kind of process been for you? What has developing your art style look like? Do you feel like you have a style? Do you feel like you're in between styles? I'd love to know down below. Make sure to share this video also. That's always really appreciated. This piece will be available in my Store Envy shop. The link will be below, and I'm hoping to get prints of this up in my Etsy and Store Envy shop in the near future. So if that is ready, the link will be down below. Alright, so this is the final piece. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm pretty happy with it, actually. I would change a few things here and there, but overall I feel like I was pretty successful with trying out this new color palette and testing the boundaries of what my style is and moving in that direction to have more cohesion in my art portfolio and understanding what feels right. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. As always, I hope you have a creatively fulfilled day. Bye guys!